Hi guys! You wanna know what I did yesterday? Or today, technically. I went to the midnight release here in Sweden of Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2, and I saw it, and it was so effing epic. My favorite movie, Harry Potter movie so far. Yes, it really was. I really loved it. I really loved it, and I can't wait to see it again. I might even go to the movies to see it again. It was, so great. There were lots of fun stuff in it that weren't in the book, like lots of funny one-liners, especially Neville. He had a lot of funny one-liners. That was awesome. The final battle, it was just so epic. So epic. There are no other word to describe the movie but epic. The 19 years later part, the epilogue, oh my god, it was so cool to see. They really looked a lot older than they were, the actors. You could really see that they were older. You didn't get to know so much. You only got to know the names of one of Harry and Ginny's sons, that's Albus Severus. You didn't get to know James and Lily. Of course you saw them like running around and stuff, but you didn't get to know what their names were, and you didn't get to know the names of Hugo and Rose either, or Draco's son, which I can never remember the name of. Don't get me wrong when I talk about some stuff that I was disappointed in, because it was really good. I was a little bit disappointed with the Resurrection Stone scene. Yeah, that was a little bit of a disappointment for me, because I'd expected a lot from that scene, because it's just so emotional and stuff, but yeah, I didn't get that. There were no mentioning of Neville, like, I don't really remember because I read the book long ago. Not really long ago, but I just don't remember anyway. But the prophecy, it said that like, oh, a boy born at the end of July, blah 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 blah, and it could be Neville, right? We all know that because we read the books. There were no such thing in the books, in the movies. They didn't mention it once. Sad. Also, Neville marries Hannah Abbott, right? They don't mention it in the books, but if you read the Wikipedia page, it says that Neville married Hannah Abbott, or however you pronounce her name. So I guess that J.K. Rowling said that in an interview or something. But in the movie, Neville is really in love with Luna, and we were all rooting for that, weren't we? We were all rooting for Luna and Neville, but nothing ever happened. But then he married Hannah Abbott, but in the movie he's like, oh, where's Luna? And Harry's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, oh, I'm really in love with her, I'm gonna tell her, because we're gonna die anyway, right? Something like that. It was really funny. What I didn't like was, you know, in the book, after Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Draco and Goyle, I think, get out of the room of requirement, and Fred is there and stuff, and there's like a boom, and then Fred dies. Right? That's how I remember it. Fred dies right there. In the movie, Fred dies as well, but we don't get to see him die. We only see him like when they go into the Great Hall, and then there's like dead bodies everywhere, and Fred is there. And I was a little bit disappointed. Also, I was disappointed with the, you know, there's a chapter in the book called The Prince's Tale with Snape. Yeah, you did. While watching that part of the movie, it was kind of, I mean, it was good, but you didn't really, when I read the books, I really got the impression that Snape loved Lily so much over anything else. He really loved her, and I really felt sympathetic for Snape and stuff. In the movie, if he didn't say, like, if Dumbledore didn't say, like, oh, you loved her, didn't you? Well, I wouldn't have understood that Snape loved Lily. You only saw them when they were kids, like lying on the grass, talking, like, oh, and then James being mean to Snape a little bit, and then Snape crying when Lily died. And you know, even if you didn't love a person, you'd cry when they died, right? Any sensible person would do that. I can't believe it's over. I cried, you know, I cried before the movie started. I also ate all my popcorn before the movie started. I was so sad that it was the last movie, so I just started crying, and then the first scene of the movie is like Harry sitting at Dobby's grave, and I'm like, no, Dobby's dead, and I started crying again. Of course I knew that Dobby was dead, but I started crying again, and then I cried when Snape died, and I cried at the Resurrection Stone scene, even if it wasn't that good, and I cried when they came into the Great Hall and all the dead people were there, and I cried at the epilogue, and I cried a lot. I cried at the final battle. I cried all the time, and it was so good. It was so good. It was really good. It was really good. And some of the stuff that weren't in it, that were in the books, were some of my favorite lines from the epilogue. Like when, I can't remember exactly how it works, but Teddy is making out with Bill and Fleur's daughter, I think. And that's, I was really looking forward to that, like, that part. But it wasn't in it, and also, I think it's Hermione telling her daughter or something that she should say hi to Professor Longbottom. So Neville Longbottom is a professor at Hogwarts. That wasn't in it. And talking about Teddy, as I did before, he wasn't in the book, in the movie a lot at all. Only the first time we found out that Teddy and that Tonks and Lupin had a child was at the Resurrection Stone scene, because Harry was like to Lupin, he was like, "Oh, your son," and Lupin was like, "Oh no, he'll get why his parents died," blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that was a little bit sad. And I was so convinced. I don't know why. I guess I just imagined it in my head, because before yesterday I'd only seen part 1 once when I was at the movies, but then I saw it yesterday because I bought the DVD. But I was so convinced that the part with breaking into Gringotts, the bank, was in the first movie. I was so convinced about that. Maybe I just imagined it very clearly while reading in the books. I'm sure all Harry Potter fans are upset about this, but you know, I'm just going to mention it because I'm rambling anyway. Harry and Ginny's first kiss in the Half-Blood Prince is supposed to be after a Quidditch game in Gryffindor Common Room, right? Yes? And then when he goes to hide the book, the Half-Blood Prince book, he goes into the room of requirement, and then he puts it next to a statue, and then he puts a wig on the statue and a tiara on the wig on the statue, so that he will recognize it and find the book easily if he wants to get it. But in the movie, he and Ginny walks in there, and she's like, "Close your eyes," and then she hides the books, and then she comes up and kisses him, and you're like, ugh. And I didn't like that scene at all. And in the movie, like, the Horcruxes speak to him or something, and it's not good. And also, there was one scene when they broke into Bellatrix's vault at Gringotts. They had no idea what they were looking for. But in the books, they knew they were looking for Hufflepuff Cup. I'm so rambling, but I really liked the movie, and I missed some stuff, but I really liked it, and it was my favorite Harry Potter movie, and it was really funny. It was really funny, and I can't stop smiling because I saw this last Harry Potter movie, but still, it's sad. It's very sad. You should see, if you have Twitter, you can go onto my Twitter. It's curlygirl11, because I have curly hair, you know. I'm funny like that. Yeah, and I twittered a lot. Tweeted. Yeah, I don't know. After I'd seen the movie, there was so much feelings in me right there. You should have seen me. I sat there with my scar and my Harry Potter glasses like this, and tweeted on my phone, and then I was like crying, and my dad and my friend were talking and all the time, and they were like, "Oh, what do you think, Janine?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started crying because I was so sad. I was so sad. Oh, it was so great. The Hufflepuff Cup.